Hi, Cheryl. Hey. I'm in a different place. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I guess not. I don't know why. Let's see. You speak. Speak. I can't hear. Oh, this happened last time.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, and I can hear you. I don't know what that was.
I don't,
Anyway,
I don't know, but I'm grateful that it worked itself out. I am in my best friend's um, condo in Philadelphia,
oh,
and she was engaged to be married to a remarkable person who actually died on Saturday. So I'm very much in this, kind of having just arrived not long ago in this sort of weepy space. Because I was very much looking forward to performing their wedding ceremony, and it was rather sudden. And
oh,
so I drove from where I live in Massachusetts to my other bestest, longest friends in New Jersey yesterday. And then we stayed the night at her place and we drove into Philadelphia this morning. So that's my story.
wow. I'm driving to Delaware on Thursday night. But how sad. Oh,
Yes, it's sad. But I start that new church job next week. I feel sort of like I'm squeezing between two doors, being able to be here to make the trip and to, be a comfort of some measure to her and get back to work.
well, I mean, at least you had this week, right?
Yes, I'm just saying that's just God's grace, just for sure. And there we go. Were you able to, I did send you an email asking, were you able to not get to listening to it, but you may have, but just access the recording?
Yeah, I did respond. What the heck's going
Oh,
on?
I didn't get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
What
I
were you?
just said got
uh,
it and was able to access it. I downloaded it and but it'll actually get assessed um before we need to schedule our one-on-ones for that week. So it'll be assessed before that.
we scheduled those last week, I think.
Okay. Then yeah, it'll get done before that.
Yeah, yeah. And do you send that out to ICF or do you just assess it?
Um, it gets sent, we have like audits that we have to do, and that's when they get sent to the ICF. Otherwise, I just go over them with you and then you get a copy and then yeah, and then it just stays within the program because then when well, I have to get the accreditation first, so waiting for that. But
Oh,
once I get accredited, then they do, I think it's quarterly audits where we have to send in we only have to send in the final performance evaluations, not these other ones that we're doing. So the one that you do in class 15, that's the one that will get sent eventually in the audits.
right, but I'm not going for accreditation. I'm just renewing. So I don't know if you're going to be
Right,
sent
but it's for my accreditation.
your
So it's
accreditation. I didn't know you weren't accredited, Cheryl.
yeah, it's provisional.
Got
I
it.
Yeah, so when they do when I get the full, what they call full accreditation, then, but that doesn't affect you. You can renew with this. It's continuing education credits, that doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but for like for Maria, I'll be accredited way before she goes for hers, but once I get full accreditation, then it's like every quarter, I think it is, I have to send in those final evals. And it doesn't matter what you're going for. What they're looking for is, did I assess it correctly? Um, and they just spot check them.
Us, and they assess your assessment.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's spot check. They don't check them all. I just send them in and they check one out of the group that I send.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And so that's easier than them doing all of them.
For sure. Hi, Maria.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a day today. Even my computer, I don't know what it's doing now. So if you see me going in and out, I did an update and I don't know what's going on. Like things are popping up on my screen.
I hate updates.
I do too.
Like what is happening right
I
now?
hate them. I like that my Mac does them at night, and then in the morning I can look at everything before I start. But
Yeah,
like the ones
everything's
that
done.
happen at all kinds of hours, and then you're like, okay, what am I doing here now?
Well,
Yeah.
but then the updates, you don't know what they did, and all of a sudden something disappeared that you were familiar with and you counted on, or all of a sudden something's there that you have no idea
Yeah.
how to do.
Yep.
I think that's what's happening now. They like added something and it's like it was popping up and I'm like, no, deny access, deny. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. So, but I think we're all good now, and nothing's came up in the last like 2 minutes. So I think I finally
Oh,
figured it out. Hey, you're in a new area of your house.
I'm visiting my friend. I was just telling Cheryl that
Oh,
my friend in Philadelphia, her fiance passed away on Saturday.
oh no.
And we were actually looking forward to my performing their wedding ceremony in a
Oh,
short time. And so my other friend, we're like a very close, longtime friends. She and I drove up here, down here from New Jersey. I drove to her house in New Jersey yesterday, and we drove to Philadelphia a couple of hours already this morning. So I just got here a little while ago.
wow.
Uh, I picked what I thought would be like the best location for you visually.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
So sorry to hear that. Sorry for your friend's loss.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you see my pen?
Yes,
Mike bought me all these purple pens.
that one's fancy. They're all like similar.
They look
This is a heart though.
Oh, that's a heart.
they look like shavers from here.
Oh yeah. That
Also,
was nice. It's like glittery, right? Like,
yeah, it's all glitter.
Cute.
That's what I'd share. I'm a big sticker, pen, planner, notebook person. So whenever he sees something that's purple or glittery or whatever, he gets
That's
it.
nice.
Yes. All right. Let's get started. So today, well, I think Julie, you were supposed to coach. Are you still want to coach or you want Maria to coach you?
I was supposed to coach Julie. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay. Is
supposed
that
to.
still good? I just want to make sure we're still good there.
Yeah, that's fine. I just have to think about what I want to.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go over I think we're gonna go over the information first and then we'll do the coaching. Or no, let's do the coaching first.
I'm gonna do the coaching first.
Well, hang on. Let me think. I really like to do the material first and then the coaching. The only time I switch it is when we're listening to coaching. But if you're doing the coaching, I think we're just going to keep it that we'll do the material first. And then, yeah, then we'll do the coaching sessions and the feedback. And, but when we're listening to them, it's a little bit different. I usually do that first. So we'll do it that way.
Also,
So
so I have a question. So when we'll do the coaching, we're also giving our own feedback
you're
as well?
getting that form that I was doing, I'll do that for you during this session.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll get that email to you at some point, those in-class ones. We're required, so I'm required to give you 5 feedback sessions. So you'll get, between your final and the 2 that you submit for your one-on-ones, that's 3 of them. And then, well, because there's only 2 of you, you're gonna have plenty of them in class, but you'll get 2 that are actually written formally and sent to you.
Okay.
So at the end, you wind up with 5.
All right.
Okay. So today we are talking about client agreement and coachability. And let me just share my screen. I'm updating the course book again, but I had mentioned that you guys can have the full one if you want it at the end. I know you have all the chapters, but like Mike is doing this for me. It has all the table of contents. I love it. And he's good at formatting. And then each chapter will have its own table of contents when he's done too. But
I like it like this too.
yeah, I like having it all in one place. I think it's easier, but for the portal, it's much easier for you to just go in and open up that chapter, I guess. But anyway, that's how they do it in that portal. So we are on chapter 4. Let me get back there. Oh, did you guys take your EQI test?
No,
No, not yet. I said I was gonna do that tonight, actually.
You got the invites though.
Yes.
I think so. Yes, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
Okay, good. Yeah, see if you can, well, I guess Julie won't be able to tonight, but that's fine.
No, how long does it supposedly take?
It takes about 20 to 25 minutes, but I usually say give yourself 40 in case you want to go back and before you submit and it, re-answer or something. Because I wanted to see if you had any questions, I can answer them Thursday because next week I won't be here. And the next week is our one-on-ones. I can answer them during the one-on-ones. So it's not terrible, but I mean, if you can before Thursday, that'd be great. If not, that's fine too.
I'm gonna do my best to do it before Thursday.
Okay.
I think my best chance at doing it will be tomorrow afternoon.
All right, that sounds good.
Unless, tonight I can't sleep, I wake up, I come in here, I do it. Sorry I didn't do it by today. Were we supposed to? I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. We're very flexible. It's okay.
It's what I love about you, Cheryl. Only one of the many things.
Good save. Thank you, Julie. All right, so let's talk about client agreement and coachability. So as you know, when we have clear and effective agreements, it helps with having successful coaching relationships and outcomes for your clients. And there's 2 types of agreements. There's the overall coaching engagement, which I termed client agreement, and then there's ensuring coachability. So we're covering both of those. The next chapter is actually for Thursday is the coaching session agreement. So that's totally separate. And we're going to spend a whole class on that. But today we're talking about client agreements as far as making sure that we have an understanding and an outline of what the coaching engagement will involve. So there's 2 pieces to it. Not only do agreements help set the tone for the whole engagement, but it's also an outline for expectations and boundaries for both the coach and the client. This helps with making sure that we're a good fit, making sure that the client is coachable, because it kind of leads into that. And these are things that we usually address, the main points anyway, during consults. And then when we actually go to create a coaching plan, that's usually done during your onboarding. But we're going to talk about the step before the onboarding. So once we're able to make sure that we're a match and that the person is coachable, and we covered that last week as far as the ethics part of making sure they're coachable. Then we wanted to explore like their specific goals, the methods that might be used in the coaching, and kind of the scope of the relationship. And we want to capture all that in a contract and in any onboarding documents that we're going to be using with the client. And this is a collaborative process. Once we know that they're coachable and we go to do the agreement and the coaching plan, we collaborate with the clients to do that. And we want to make sure that we're using our emotional intelligence to really understand and align with their clients' goals and to determine their coachability. And in this, the term that I'm using, coachability, in this chapter means not only that they are ethically coachable, but also that they are coachable for what we are doing. So that coachability is, kind of has two meanings in this context. Because they might be good, they might be coachable for one type of coach and maybe not for a different type of coach, or one personality and not for another personality. So it's really important that we have these consults to make sure that we are a good fit and that we consider them coachable for the type of coaching that we're doing. And also making sure, again, the boundaries are put into place and that expectations are managed. When I first started coaching, I wasn't I wasn't really up on the managing expectations from clients. And so things were kind of like willy-nilly and a little bit all over the place. And you make a lot of exceptions and you do a lot of customizing. And not that it's bad to customize occasionally, but you can't customize every single client that comes in, because once you start getting regular clients, that becomes very difficult to manage. And then you don't know who you're doing what for who. And, so again, managing those expectations becomes really difficult, let alone fulfilling them. So it's best that we come up with those kind of boundaries of what we will and will not do, and then the expectations, so that we can help the client to to understand how the relationship's going to move going forward, and nobody winds up in a bad place or misunderstood place or anything like that. Then I'm going to give you an example. I had a client who now I have a standard contract that I give everybody for business coaching. And it, basically says how many sessions, how long the sessions are. It tells you when you can make up a session, when you can't, like when you miss a session. It's all in that agreement. But you still have to go over it with the client. And this one client, and this was again a long time ago, I did not go over it with them. Met with them after they signed it, talked through like their goals for working together, and asked if they had any questions about it, but I didn't go over it. Big mistake, because what happened was one of the things that I give is unlimited email in between coaching sessions. I think you both know that, like you can email me, right? But what I didn't manage was the expectation that you cannot email me 3 times a day and expect an answer 3 times a day. It's just not happening. Right. So I did not manage that expectation of, first of all, email once a day. Right. And secondly, I never had anybody email me more than like once a week, let alone once a day. So that was a consideration as well. But the immediate need at that point was like, I woke up one morning and I had 12 emails from this person. And what she had done was every thought she had or every question she had, she shot an email off. And I was like, oh yeah, I can't do this. This is just not organized for me. My brain can't handle that. So I responded and said, could you please put all of this into one email and only email me once a day? She said, okay. But then the next day I woke up and something had set her off. And so she emailed me 32 times in one day. Yeah, there was a little bit of a, maybe this person was not fully stable and I misassessed that. But besides that, 32 times. And I was like, oh, can you get on a call? Because, we can't do this. And so she got on Zoom and I was like, or no, it wasn't Zoom actually. Then it was Skype. That's how long ago it was. I was like, we can't do that. Like, I can't answer 32 emails. I don't even want to see 32 emails. Like, that to me is so overwhelming that I won't even open them. I'm sorry. That's the way I am. It says unlimited emails. You're right. It does say unlimited emails, but really, I didn't manage your expectation correctly in that sense, right? Yes, it's unlimited emails. You can email me every day if you absolutely must. Email me every day, but one email. She fought me for that for a week and kept emailing, email after email. And finally, I fired my client and gave her all her money back. And I said, this is not normal to do this, right? So there's a couple things that happened there. One, I realized I need to manage what that unlimited email means. And so I have put that in my contract now that it's unlimited email, but no more than one email a day. Just put all your questions in there. But again, I've never had that happen and haven't since. People don't normally email me that much. Also, you can message me, but you can't message me 20 different individual questions on Facebook Messenger. I will not even answer you. I'm just not gonna. It's just not manageable for me. So I have to make sure that I manage those things. So I have unlimited email and I have unlimited, whatever that app is, Telegram app. But again, it's limited to once a day. Just put everything in one time. I can go through each question in one message or each question in one email, but that's going to be it. And I'll highlight and answer and I do my little different colors. I can manage all that. So agreements are so important, and managing expectations, and especially like getting really clear about what you mean in your agreement, because that was so stressful for me. And besides the time and energy for me, it was time and energy for her as well. If I'm going to, be gracious about it, like she signed, she paid, she took the time to write all those emails. I had to, do everything in my systems to set her up and process the payment and get on this calls and then deal with all those emails and then get on another call with her to explain everything. So it's twofold. Like, it was a lot of stress and a lot of aggravation. And ultimately I wound up giving her money back and I took a loss. And so that's, how do we avoid that? We get really clear on the front end and we don't allow those things to happen. Now, will they sometimes happen anyway? Yeah. Some people may not retain what you say, but what you put in your agreement, you also need to go over it with them in your consult or your onboarding, depending on what it is. What the specific item is. So that's really important. And my example was why. Okay, so coachability and compatibility. So coachability refers to their willingness to learn, adapt, and apply the insights gained during the coaching process. So again, I'm not talking about coachability as far as ethics and making sure that they're stable. Now I'm talking about coachability as far as, are they going to take action? Are they going to agree to take action? And then are they going to follow through with that action? If they're not following through on their action items and especially if they don't know what's getting in the way of them following through, they might not be a coachable person, or they might not be coachable to you. The way that you are coaching them might not be effective for them, and they might need a different style of coaching. So that's why I say, coachability can be the person, but it also can be our style, and we need to make sure that we have a fit when we take people on. So we want to make sure that they are going to take action. And how do you do that? You ask some questions during your consult about how do they reach goals and how did they reach goals in the past? Are they a person that typically takes action? Are they somebody that procrastinates? Are they dealing with something that could potentially slow their progress? We just want to get to know them a little bit to understand if this is going to be a potential problem or if they're going to be okay with being able to follow through. We also want to make sure that they're able to receive feedback. And what I mean by feedback, of course, we're not telling clients what to do, but we do give feedback, for instance, if they don't follow through on a action plan and we notice something, then we're able to say that to them. We're able to say what we've noticed, and then of course check in with them about their thoughts on it. But they have to be able to receive that, right? They have to be in a receiving mode. um, and that they really have that kind of desire to move forward and take action and develop. And then so we figure those things out as much as we can during the consult and then the onboarding. But then we also want to make sure that it winds up in our contracts. So we want very specific things in our contracts. But here's some things that we want to look at for assessing coachability. And again, this is usually during the consult. So we want to make sure that they're open to feedback. We want to make sure that they're responsive to guidance. Now, again, there's a certain amount of guidance that we do as coaches, but we're not telling clients what to do. So I'm not trying to change any of that. I'm talking about just the instances where we might give some guidance for whatever reason, like outside the coaching session or at the end of the coaching session when we're giving resources or what have you. But we want them to be committed to taking action. We want to make sure that we engage in reflective practices ourselves to support their learning. That we are able to cultivate that synergy between coach and client. So we're both kind of, we know that we can be on the same page. You don't want to be with somebody that's like, you're always on a different page and like nobody really understands what the other one's doing, right? That's very difficult to sustain a relationship that way. So your style, your approach, your kind of philosophy aligns with the client's needs and their personality. That is going to be the foundation for your trust, rapport, and effective communication. And then assuring capabilities or compatibility as far as in your client agreement. Making sure that you are aligned with values and goals. So again, this is like making sure that it's a fit for you personally. It might not be a fit for you, but it could be for a different coach. For instance, I know a coach who is a Christian coach, and I know, Julie is a spiritual coach, but then I know somebody else, not my client, but I have a friend who has a client who is a, what is it called? A Muslim coach. And that's not what she calls herself, but anyway, she doesn't coach Christians, right? So in fact, she doesn't want to, like, she doesn't even want to have conversations with Christians. So she's very clear in her marketing before you even get on a consult to know that you would have to be a Muslim in order for her to coach you. So that's kind of a glaring example, but just kind of think of other examples. Sorry?
I said, yeah, that's quite an example.
Yeah. So kind of just think about that. What would not align with your philosophy or your goals or your values, where you would not want to coach somebody, or that they wouldn't be the best fit for you. And that's why I feel like having a referral network of coaches is really important, because if you can't help somebody and you're able to refer them to somebody that can, kind of create synergy in the universe for us. And it helps each other, and we help each other out. So make sure that there's an alignment, make sure that you have personal connection, so that your client feels understood and supported. If they don't feel understood and supported, two things can happen. One, they'll continue in the coaching engagement because they feel like they have to, because some people don't have that to say something's not working for them, and they want, they think that we need to reconsider, or they're going to tell you they don't feel understood and supported, and it'll be a negative thing. It'll wind up being something that creates a problem for you. So if we take care of it up front, and also we open up the doors for, if at any time, like my agreement says it, and I say it in my consults, if at any time I do something that does not or that upsets you, please let me know in whatever way, because I can't address it if I don't know that you're upset about something, or that I've done something that might have, insulted you, something that I'm not knowing. I don't have a mind reader ability, so I would like people to tell me. So these are things that you might want to consider, like, how do I incorporate this? What are the things that I really need to look out for, the things that really I need to align with, and they need to align with me, that there are no exceptions, or there are no, there's things that we have to work out ahead of time, or what have you. So just having kind of a list of your expectations and how to manage the client's expectations. And then you also want to talk about communication preferences, kind of what I just said. Like, if you're going to have unlimited email or messaging, make sure that you have that spelled out, how that's going to work. And because some people, or is it going to be phone, or is it going to be, I have some clients that only do Zoom, like they don't even want to do email. So you really have to think about that. And then again, managing those expectations. So, so then you take those expectations and those agreements and you put them into your contract, your client contract. So you want to include a section in your contract that talks about the importance of coachability and compatibility. And you want to outline kind of the behaviors and attitudes expected from the client to foster that environment that you want, that you've set up for your coaching. And then also clarify what the client can expect from you as a coach in supporting their journey. There's different support models out there. Some people will do like weekly check-ins with their clients, or they'll do, like a weekly, maybe recap emails, or whatever it is, like that if you're going to do anything outside of the coaching sessions, make sure that that's put in there as part of your support. So again, you're managing expectations. They don't expect more than what you've said that you will do. And then I have some sample text here, which basically just says, in our coaching partnership, we prioritize coachability as the engine of your growth. As your coach, I'll provide constructive feedback and guidance tailored to your goals. That's during the planning process, right? We're going to co-create a coaching plan, which is a little bit different, I think, than you've probably learned before. But now that the ICF has added that coaching mindset, coaching growth, that now includes being able to come up together with a coaching plan where you can outline an overarching plan. Now, nothing too specific, but like, hey, if we have 3 months together, what are the 6 main goals that you want to reach, or the 3 main goals that you want to reach? And then look at, is that feasible in 3 months? What are the subtopics to reach those goals? That type of thing. You're going to come up with a coaching plan. And then your role as a client involves embracing the feedback, actively participating in the process, and taking the necessary steps towards change. Compatibility between us is equally vital. Our initial consultations will focus on ensuring that our values, communication styles, and expectations are in harmony, setting the stage for a trustful and effective coaching relationship. By signing this agreement, we both commit to fostering an environment where openness, mutual respect, and dedication to your success are paramount. Just an example. It's a formal example. Yours might not be that formal. Mine is not that formal. But I thought I would put a professional kind of formal one in there. So there it is. And then next steps, encourage clients to self-assess their readiness for coaching by providing them with a checklist or a self-evaluation form that addresses coachability and compatibility. Or it might be like a goal form, a vision form, something that allows them to kind of look at that relationship and what they want to accomplish in the coaching agreement, so that they can kind of feel good and be confident in making that decision to go forward. Okay. Questions about that?
I had a question about the reflecting. If we could scroll back. Reflective practice. encourage clients to engage in reflective practices that support their learning and growth within the coaching relationship. Now, there's two kinds of reflection that come to my mind. Like, one reflection is thoughtfulness and, really just reflecting on what you've said or the coach has said, whatever. But the other reflecting is a spoken sort of like, let me see if I understand what you have said to me just now. Like that kind of reflection. And I'm wondering if that comes close to what this is talking about.
I think it's both, really. It just depends on the timing of it, right? So we want to make sure that, but in this example, I'm talking about like that the clients engage in reflective practices and support their learning and growth within the coaching relationship, and that we do that. So what I mean by that is that we're able to encourage clients to look at their growth and then reflect on it. And then we're reflecting what we're hearing and what we're seeing as well. And then also, if you want to take a step further, we're reflecting on the growth that we have and the things that we're doing. So really it's all three when you think about it. A reflective practice means all three of those things.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? Um,
If you make a coaching plan and it sort of veers off the coaching plan, like, I don't know, 6 weeks into a 3-month plan, do you just reassess with them? Just remind them what the coaching plan is about? And do you adjust it or just take a detour or all of the above?
yeah, it's really all the above. The first thing is to check in with the client and say, okay, because they lead, right? If they want to change anything, they can. Like you come up with that plan in the beginning, but as they're working through things, then things might change, priorities might change, situations might change, what have you. When you see them bringing up topics that are outside of that overarching agreement, that's a good time to say, I just want to check in real quick with you. Like this is kind of the direction that you wanted to take in. These were the goals. This doesn't seem to align with that.
Yeah, I mean, on the coaching session I had last Friday, that I submitted for assessing, I actually did stop in the middle and say, just hold on 1 second, are we changing direction? And I did say, you know, this is what your stated topic was, and now we're talking about this. And it was empowering to have the coaching agreement so clear. Otherwise, of course, I couldn't have said anything like that.
Yes. And that's one of the benefits of having a really clear coaching agreement.
Yeah, I really saw that in that moment.
Yeah, and that's great. And so even so if it's the direction of the overall engagement or the direction of individual sessions, either one of those allows you to stop and do that. Just,
Got it.
check.
Okay.
Um, okay, so a couple of questions for you. So, evaluating coachability. So you're in initial consultation with a potential client, Alex, who has been very successful in their career, but now feels stuck. Alex is considering a significant career transition, but has expressed skepticism about the coaching process and is unsure about what coaching can offer. So during the conversation, Alex is somewhat defensive and challenges the effectiveness of coaching based on past experiences. Which of the following responses would be best or would best assess Alex's coachability? It sounds like you've had some challenging experiences with coaching in the past. What are you hoping to achieve differently this time around? B is coaching might not be for everyone. If you're already doubtful, maybe this isn't the right time for you to start this process. C, I understand your concern. How about we set some clear, measurable goals for the first few sessions to see if coaching can make a difference for you? Or D, why don't we dive right into the coaching process and you can decide for yourself if it's effective or not? What do you think would be good?
So maybe C, but I'm not 100% sold on it.
Okay. What about you, Julie?
Maybe A.
Yeah, I like C and I like A.
Yeah,
Uh,
between those two.
and I even kind of like B, at least the first part. I might reword the second sentence, but I don't really like D. Why don't we dive right in? Because it's not acknowledging his frustrations.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this is just kind of saying, well, let me ignore
Yeah,
Yeah.
your challenges here and let's just move forward. That
yeah,
Mhm.
makes both of your time. And B is um is still kind of dismissing a little bit, right? Because we're saying, okay, coaching might not be for everybody. Let's just forget about
yeah.
it. So really it becomes between A and C. Um, A is the better answer. C could be potentially the answer as well. This is kind of like you're doing a trial thing, right? You're saying, okay, well, let's maybe take a month and do a couple sessions and see what happens. But really to address it, it's A. So just, it sounds like you've had some challenging experiences with coaching in the past. What are you hoping to achieve differently this time around? So why are they even in the session? This is real, like, why are they in the consult? They must want something to be different. And so you're calling them out, really. You're challenging them. Okay, so what's going to be different this time?
Yep,
And then you can, with whatever they answer, then you can address the specific concerns that they might come up with.
yep.
Okay. Second one, establishing compatibility. During a discovery session, you meet Jamie, a new client who's eager to start the coaching process. Jamie shares a lot of personal information and expects the same level of disclosure from you as their coach. You prefer to keep the focus on the client and maintain a certain level of professional distance. How should you address this to ensure compatibility in the coaching relationship? A, I keep my personal life private. Let's focus on you and your coaching goals. B, while I appreciate your openness, our coaching sessions will be most effective if we concentrate on your journey and how I can support you in reaching your goals. C, I'm happy to share my personal experiences if they are relevant and can facilitate your growth. Shall we start by discussing what areas you'd like to focus on? D, I can recommend another coach who might be more open to sharing personal stories if that's what you're looking for.
Being that I have this issue, I would go with B because I don't like sharing my personal information. And as a mom of five, is something I get often. Like, oh, so what was your experience? No, my experience of birth is different than everyone. So that's why I say I'm focusing on you and what your outcome would be. So for me, it would be B. I mean, B is also another one, but I feel like B might be more accurate.
Okay. How about you, Julie?
Um, I'm sort of having a little bit of hesitancy about all of them. Like, I guess the best one I can come up with, or I could choose, uh, is C. I'm happy to share my personal experiences if they are relevant and can facilitate your growth. shall we start by discussing what you'd like to focus on? I mean, I think that is very much in the arena of their coachability. I mean, if somebody is expecting me to use them as a coach, that's not the relationship. Um, I mean, and I don't have trouble sharing a personal experience if it's brief and it's done after the experience is resolved,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Like I've seen this be successful with myself and other people, I would probably say, in a more generalized way. But I'm not going to share with the person something uh, that I'm dealing with.
Yeah. So
In
that's
my
what's
it, yeah, in my experience, it could get you in trouble because we're talking about birth and then people expect certain outcomes because of your experience.
Mhm.
And I have to remind them I'm not a healthcare professional. Like, even though this turned out this way for me and this was my experience, doesn't mean that that's going to be for you. So I think it also depends on the niche in which you're also working in.
Uh-huh.
Like your client, I guess. I don't know. So go ahead,
okay.
Cheryl.
So, okay. So the thing to pay attention to here is that Jamie shares a lot of personal information and expects the same level of disclosure from their coach, right? Well, this is dismissive, A. So
That's
we
right.
would do that, right? And D is also dismissive. Um, the choices would be B or C, but because it says expects the same level, you would probably go with B. Because C would be opening up doors. And you want to close the door as much as possible. You're still saying in here, you're saying that you appreciate their openness. You're saying that it'll be coaching is most effective if we concentrate on the client journey. But you're also saying you can support, how you can support them in reaching their goals. So if there is an instance where sharing something is going to be beneficial, then you would do that within the scope of your coaching. So B is the better answer there. But again, C is potentially an answer for maybe a different situation. But again, because this says expects the same level of disclosure, we're going with B.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. C, our third question is coachability in the face of resistance. So in a coaching session, your client Sam consistently finds reasons why the proposed actions toward their goals won't work. They have a pattern of shooting down their ideas and seem resistant to trying new approaches. So what approach could you take to foster coachability in Sam? A, if you continue to find reasons why things don't work, we won't make much progress. What's one thing you're willing to try? B, it seems like you're not ready to make changes. Maybe we should pause our sessions until you're ready to engage more productively. C, it's important to consider why these suggestions may not work. Can we explore what's behind this resistance and perhaps find alternative strategies that resonate more with you? D, we've come up with a lot of options, but none seem to fit for you. What do you think would be the best approach for your situation? What do you think?
I think D. We've come up with a lot of options, and I might soften it a bit by saying, so far none seem to fit for you. What do you think would be the best approach for your situation? I mean, that's sort of, to me, that puts it uh, in their court, so that they have to. I mean, I've had this situation, and I, I hate to say it, but I think what I said was basically um, A. We're finding some possible solutions. I'm not seeing any willingness to try them. But I mean, the client did say to me she appreciated that I said that, and it's true that she said I'm very negative. I don't think anything's going to work.
Okay. I mean, if you have a client that's pretty negative, there are ways to kind of challenge them with it. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, first, Marie, what do you think?
I would go with D2, but then I also feel that C kind of gets deeper to the reason why they're resisting and have them come up with it on their own, as in thinking about it, because they probably just so used to making excuses and not seeing it for themselves. So having them explore that area as to why they're actually resisting it. So I'm kind of leaning towards C more than D. Definitely is one of those two.
Yeah. Yeah. A is confrontational. So is B on a certain level. Again, depending on your relationship with the client, you could be challenging. But typically A and B are not going to be the answers. See, it could be C or D. There'd be different reasons to use C or D. In this case, we're looking at fostering coachability. So in order to foster coachability, we probably want to explore what's behind the resistance, because that's going to help with making them more coachable. So explore what's behind the resistance, and then perhaps, meaning if that's the conclusion that you guys come up with after exploring the resistance, then you find alternative strategies. It might be that you wind up sticking with some of the strategies that you've already come up with, but you're exploring that resistance. And you're asking, the most important thing here to keep in mind is that we're asking the client to lead, to tell us which way we're going. Like, can we explore this? Or are you open to exploring this? However you want to ask that question, but we're putting it back in their court. And you are doing that in D as well.
I mean, the reason I didn't choose C is because it didn't seem like an open question. Can we explore behind the resistance? And I'm not sure that the client would be familiar with the word resistance. You know, I,
Okay.
I'm
Well,
just wondering. I mean, I don't think it's a bad answer at all. I might say something, like there's been several options um, so far. Um, why do you think that none of these options would work for you? Are you open to having those uh, things work for you? One of them? If not, how about coming up with one that might work or something like that?
yeah, but see, then you're not addressing the resistance.
That's right.
So maybe you change the word resistant. Again, you would use words that resonate with you and your client. So if they say, if they're constantly finding reasons to shoot things down, or why their goals won't work, or they're kind of in that negative pattern, and they don't want to try anything new, then, this is a way to challenge them, but also letting them know that we want to try to get to the bottom of it, not just gloss over it and find a different solution. Because if you constantly have to come up with new ways, and they constantly aren't doing them anyway, then, again, kind of a waste of time and breath for both of you. So
Yep.
yeah, you can make this open-ended, and you can use a different word than resistance, but let's see. So
I was just thinking, I wonder if you are open to having some of these things work and what might what might work. What might work for you?
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another way as well. There's different ways to approach it. I
But
think
I understand that the value of pointing to the resistance it is valuable.
yeah, so you could make this a straight out, what do you feel is behind the resistance? Or
Yeah,
what do you feel is behind, um,
I like that. What do you feel is behind the resistance? I like that a lot.
And we'll change it to that because I can do that.
Nice.
Um, okay. So you can ask that. And then maybe say, um,
What strategies might resonate more with you? And then I'm just imagining a client could say, you're right, I am resistant and maybe I need to look at them again, or I mean, that's all part of coachability.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, and that I think this is the more positive way as well.
Yeah, me too.
But none seem to be the fit for you. What do you think would be the best approach? Well, they're already having a difficult time. I'm not sure that they would know what the best approach is anyway. So this is definitely the way to go,
Yeah.
For them. Okay. So creating clear client agreements, and this is, again, a way to build trust between you and your client. It clarifies purpose, logistics, focus of the coaching relationship. Everything's laid out in that contract and it's signed by both of you. It also doesn't matter the form of payment. One thing to consider is that whether you're doing a pro bono client or paid client or you're exchanging services, any of that, the same energy, you need to deliver the same energy to each of those people, right? They're all the same clients. Now you might give bonuses to paid people. I'm not talking about that, but the same, energy, the same skill base that you're using, the same courtesies, the same respect, that all goes no matter what the payments are, because that's just part of being a coach. And then also understand that this is to protect both you and the client. And so you should revisit your contracts at least every year. Sometimes you want to do it more often depending on how your business is shifting and maybe how your clients are shifting. But you want them to always be relevant and also be meaningful for both of you. And you want to make sure that you put these processes in place around your contract so that onboarding and offboarding is very easily done, and you have it all worked out ahead of time. So when you're creating agreements and onboarding documents, now there's different things that you can put into onboarding documents, and there, I give you access to an onboarding packet, which has different things for you to use if you want to use them. But the main things that we want to have in there are the purpose of coaching. So really defining the objectives that they want to get out of the coaching. The roles and responsibilities of both of you, the logistics, how do they meet with you? How often? What are the durations of the sessions? That kind of thing. Confidentiality. So having that section in your agreement that talks about the boundaries of confidentiality, when you have to break it, that type of things, or those type of things. Decide how and when feedback will be provided, allowing for ongoing adjustments to the coaching process. Consider what personal information or professional information is needed, and how that information is handled, to make sure that's mentioned in the contract. And then choose what assessment or tools, if any, you'll be used in the coaching relationship. That might be, like for me, might be the EQ assessment. It might be a goals sheet. It might be a vision sheet. Like, what are the things that you're going to use? And if you're doing, life coaching, or any type of coaching that includes life, which is almost all of them, I always feel like doing a vision and goals sheet together works really well. And then you can decide you have them do that before your onboarding. So it goes in the onboarding packet. And then when you meet in the onboarding session, you have their vision and goals right in front of you. And it's so easy to create that coaching plan based on it. And you're not spending the whole onboarding session trying to figure out what their goals are. They've already done that work before they get to that session. And now you're just refining it. Like if they came up with, if you're if your packet says, write out your vision and come up with the 10 top goals, and then when you get on your onboarding, you're looking at the goals and you say, okay, it looks like in the time frame that we have, we could probably hit like 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever of these goals. Which are the ones that you really want to focus in on? Or, what have you. It just gives you a more focused onboarding session. And then you create that coaching agreement. Okay. So using emotional intelligence is a way to help facilitate better communication with your clients, and also to really make connections in that initial consultation all the way through to the end of the coaching relationship. So it's important for us to connect with the client's emotions and kind of the layers that they have to them, and try to get a feel for that in your consultation, and to structure an agreement that really kind of focuses in on that. So some ways to use emotional intelligence is empathy and goal alignment. So utilizing empathy to make sure that you're able to connect with the client's goals and their fears, and like you have some understanding of it, or at least the capacity to understand it, to kind of go underneath and help them figure it out and get more understanding on your side. Self-awareness in defining scope. So being self-aware so that you can set those realistic boundaries within the agreement, understanding your own strengths and your own limitations, if any. And that helps you to outline your scope of work and your contracts and what's achievable and what's not. We don't want to overcommit and underdeliver, right? If we overcommit and underdeliver, then we get a bad rap, and it's not going to help the client. It's not going to help us in our business either. Social skills and communication. We want to make sure that we are using effective communication, and that we use our own social skills to explain the coaching agreement in our consult or onboarding. And it's really important that we are, transparent, understandable, we're clear, we're ensuring that there's a good fit, and that we're both fully informed in agreement. Emotional regulation during negotiation. And negotiation just basically means your sales portion of your consult, right? That's where we're, sometimes there's a negotiation in price, or sometimes there's a negotiation in what they get, because it's not always going to be the standard. But remember, with the caveat that we don't want to customize every agreement, but there might be some things that you're willing, that are kind of can be add-ons, or you're willing to make exceptions for, not your whole agreement, but maybe like little pieces of it. But sometimes I know that I was in a consultation once and I asked for an exception on something, and it was a business coach, and it was a guy, and he was just like, well, no. Kind of got insulted. I was like, okay, well, then I'm not going to work with you. Like, I need that concession. So, don't take it like it was like he was insulted, which was, I felt silly, but, don't take it as an insult if a client wants something extra, like they might just be that type of person that wants something extra, or maybe they need that concession or what have you. And just decide again from the beginning, where can you be flexible and where aren't you flexible? And then also making sure that we're motivated to serve the client's best interest. So we want to, again, create terms that encourage client growth and development, rather than focusing solely on what is most convenient or profitable for us. That is a definite big consideration, but it is not the main consideration. They kind of have to go hand in hand with the client's motivation goals, and profitable as far as success on their end as well. Relationship management throughout the coaching term. So making sure that the initial agreement is really just the start. We want to make sure that we're maintaining and managing that relationship, adapting as necessary as we learn things about the clients, or goals or circumstances change. We want to make sure that that we're still effective throughout the whole agreement engagement. And then self-expression in setting expectations, to make sure we're clearly articulating expectations for the coaching engagement, The clarity comes from a coach's ability to express themselves authentically, setting the stage for a successful partnership. Okay, and then in practice, emotional intelligence and client agreements. So when we are able to incorporate emotional intelligence into the coaching agreements, it means that we're actively practicing those things throughout the coaching engagement, like the whole time that we're working with them. So for example, when a client faces unexpected challenges, a coach with high emotional intelligence can empathize with the client's frustration, using that understanding to maybe renegotiate aspects of the agreement that may no longer be suitable. So occasionally you might have maybe a client signs up for something and halfway through their circumstances change and they want to keep working with you, but they're not able to keep the original terms. Again, this is totally a call, your call, because it's your business, but are you open to some renegotiation or some concessions, or redoing some part of the agreement or something like that, right? We want to be a little bit flexible. We don't want to be rigid as coaches, especially if something's not working for the client. I'll just give you an example. I have a client who's in fact, we just signed an agreement. It might have been two months in, and she was already ill. She had a breathing, I don't remember the name of it. It was a breathing disease. And she got to the point where all her money was going for her medications. And so she wasn't able to continue coaching or continue paying for it. Now I had a signed contract. I could have forced it, but why would I? Like, first of all, it's not fostering any kind of goodwill to anybody, right? Or to the universe or to God or anybody else, depending on what you believe in. But also, it's how's it benefiting the client or myself in any way? Yeah, I'd wind up with the money, but will that client have any success? No. Will they ever recommend me? No. Will they potentially say something bad about me? Probably. Like if somebody said, "Oh, you worked with, Coach Cheryl, how was that?" What are they going to say? It's not going to be a good experience for them. And then just because, I am a Christian and I believe in Christian values, I would think God would be like shaking his head at me, so we suspended it, and it got suspended for a year and a half or something, or almost 2 years. And she just emailed me and she's ready. She's they found a medication that works, and now she's ready to go back to, being able to coach and yada yada. And she wants to work with me again.
That's great.
So you have to think about that, right? We have to use our empathy. We have to use our emotional intelligence, our connection, we have to let go of like more bias that we might build up, because there are people out there that will take advantage of coaches or take advantage of anybody, really. So anyway, that's my example there. Did you have something, Maria?
Yeah, I had the opposite experience. So I signed up, I think we're going on 2 years now. This was 2 years ago for a social media coach, right? And there was a cohort and it's a group. As a Christian, I didn't feel comfortable with the group that she had. And so I only sat in 2 sessions. I had paid the first month, and we met weekly, and it was all, I mean, it was crazy. Like these people were like reading tarot cards, and they're talking about going into like the other side of the world, like the spirits, and it was a mess, and a mess for me, right? Anybody, apparently, a lot of these women that were in this group were all pretty much in the same type of area, except for me and this other woman, which said, I kind of don't feel comfortable, like being in this. And so we both expressed that to this coach, and she is based in Canada. And she took me to collections because I wanted to end my contract, because I no longer felt comfortable. And I had already paid her the first month, only did 2 sessions. It wasn't like I was, here for like 4 months or whatever.
No.
And she took me to collections, and I ended up having to fight certain things in court because there was a back and forth email that I had expressed to her, like, I no longer want to be here. Like, I don't feel safe at this point, right? Like, my spirit doesn't feel at ease knowing that all this stuff is around me. And like, I didn't know that there was going to be like a, what is that called? Like a sound wave session. And I'm like, what is going on? In the first like 10 minutes of the session, I was like, yeah, no, this is not for me. We did not agree to this. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's funny because I had the same experience. I went with somebody on Facebook that to grow my business page. Because I mean I post on there, but I don't really do much on my business page because I'm just focused too much on the other stuff. Not too much, but enough. I focus on the other areas. But I felt like, well, I should really grow my business page. But anyway, she was good at I saw that she was good at it, and it was actually pretty inexpensive to give it a shot. So I paid, it was $200. I paid it, and all of a sudden I start see her posting about um uh like yeah, tarot cards and witch stuff and
Yeah.
like and I was just like, what? Okay, I didn't see this before. Like, what's going on here? And I asked, and she said, oh well, she invited me to her Facebook group, and that's all they were. And that's fine for them. Like, that's their belief. Um, they were readers. They were. I had people message me about, the angels were talking to them about me, and all this stuff. And I was just like, look, this is not my Christian values, and it's not what I believe. And so I didn't even ask for my money back. I was just like, I can't work with you. I'm sorry, I can't work with you. Um, but she did give me half of it back. I didn't ask for it. And I would do that too if that were me. I would have given like half of it back or something because she did work on it for whatever, a couple weeks. Um, but yeah, but see, now here's the thing though. Had that coach been clearer in the beginning,
Right.
you would have known that and
Right.
you wouldn't have signed up. That's where the communication on your agreements goes. Makes it very important because who wants to spend that time starting up things and then having to end it?
Yeah.
So my story is just a little different, but I'm working with this church, and I'm working with the pastor as one-on-one coaching, and I'm working with a small committee group called the Pastoral Relations Committee as a group. And I drew up the contract, and it wasn't like you sign here. It was basically like, here's what we're going to do. Please let me know if you agree to this. And the agreement was to work together for 3 months to do sessions singly with the pastor and once a month in-person sessions with the group. And that happened in February. We weren't able to schedule until the first week of April for March. And then, so we'd already done an in person session the first week of April for March. So I kept having to, but I guess I didn't have to, but I sent them reminder emails about, we need to set up a meeting, we need to set up a meeting. And the most recent email I got from them was, well, we haven't done the work that we were supposed to do, that you outlined or that we outlined together. And I think that we're best off meeting toward the end of June for our in-person meeting. And so I did say, all right, let me know when that might be or when you're available. But the other thing is there's February, March was in April, and May didn't happen. And now we're
Right.
looking at June.
Yeah, so so you're gonna wind up with a snowball effect. And that's
Well,
a
and
big
I'm
example.
starting a different job. I'm not really available like I was before. And I guess my question is, do I have the right to say to bill for those other sessions? But since it was for 3 months and we've only had two in-person sessions, I mean, I think basically by the end of June, that's going to have to be it, with this particular agreement, right?
Yeah.
And churches are just notoriously kind of lackadaisical.
Well, and that's why,
Like it's like anything's okay and you're okay and we're okay and if it works fine. It's like
but
it's,
that's why you have it a written agreement that they sign, because
yeah.
you can manage them that way.
Hmm.
Well, I was
Especially
gonna,
for,
I was gonna say, can you do an agreement? I mean, I guess, yeah, like if it's your agreement, you can put whatever you want on it. But like, you know how you say, okay, we have this coaching session for 3 months. We agree within the months of, I don't know, May and July or something like that. Like, can you do that as well? Like put specific dates, or is that
sure,
kind of like limiting?
absolutely. Like my contract says, that we have to have them in the months that they're signed up for,
Okay.
unless they get specific permission from me to extend it. Like, we can't extend beyond the time unless we come up with another agreement, and then in that case, we sign a new agreement. On my ones that are time-based. So if we're working 6 months together and our 6 months ends like March 31st, and you haven't utilized all your sessions, we need to have a conversation to see if you're gonna carry them over. They don't just auto roll over.
Okay.
No, and in fact, they did. Uh, the head of the committee called me, and he also.
I'm sorry, Julie. I'm gonna be right back. My daughter's crying.
Oh,
She's
okay.
with her father, but I don't know what's going on. Hold on.
That's okay. I was just going to say that they called me, they did email me as well and ask if I would be okay with that. They just have a lot going on in terms of their medical appointments and
Yeah.
I don't know what else.
But I would just definitely tell them that you're starting your new job and you won't be able to extend it into July. So if they want, they can have two this month, if you want to do that.
Well,
Otherwise, it's just the one.
they have to like they have to they're not rigorous in their record keeping or their contract even with the pastor. Like they can't find the contract between them and the pastor. Like I just trying to communicate like how basic that is. Just find the contract, how long is it for, what are the conditions that need to be met, and then you need an evaluation process,
Yeah,
so that you can determine it's sort of like establishing the coaching agreement. If
yeah,
you don't have the agreement in place, everything is fluid and there's no set boundaries that support the work that you do together.
yeah.
And so since they haven't done the work, they're going to try to go for the end of June, and I will try to make that, but that will be the third meeting in person of a 3-month agreement that started in February.
Yeah. So that would be it then.
Yeah, that would be it then, until unless we shift gears and go in a different direction.
Yeah.
But
Doesn't the pastor have the contract though?
um, honestly, I don't know if the pastor has the contract. This was not a conversation I had with the pastor.
Oh, okay.
It's been very tricky, dealing with the committee, who two of whom are have nothing but complaints about the pastor, one of who keeps holding the context for workability, and then going and then having these sessions with the pastor in which he thinks everything is great.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough.
Yeah, that's tough. But the last report I got was that he is visibly improving, which
Oh,
is
good.
which is so gratifying for me. So gratifying because I mean I want him to succeed and I want this church to succeed, but you can't have a successful relationship and not be uh, forthright in your communications and your conditions for what is success.
Yeah,
What does success mean to you,
yeah.
whole congregation? Anyway,
All right. Okay.
too
So
much information.
the last part of this is the consult. So during the consult, you have the opportunity to explore if the prospect is a good fit for coaching, that you're the right coach for them, and that they are a right client for you. So this is just a little outline, conduct introductions, take the lead, state the time frame for the consult. This is important. Otherwise, you can wind up an hour with somebody. And I usually say something like, we have 30 minutes where we're going to explore such and such, and we'll come to a conclusion about such and such. So they know how long the time is. Let them know that the first step is that you will be asking questions to determine if you're a good fit. If you're a good fit, then you'll discuss how your process works. If not, you'll do your best to point them in the right direction. Explain the difference between coaching, consulting, and therapy, and then qualify them. So some examples: what's the overall goal you want to reach or challenge you're trying to overcome? What is currently happening now? Why is this important to you now? What is keeping you from achieving it? What have you tried so far to reach the goal? And then kind of listening for those obstacles or their pain points. Timing, what's the timeline that they want for reaching the goal? Recap, pull out 2 or 3 main problems, reflect it back to them, make sure you have a good understanding. Then evaluate the coachability. So do the areas they want to work on fall within your scope of coaching? Oh, well, coaching in general, and then your scope of coaching. Are they committed to the coaching process, showing up, following up, following up on commitments? Are they capable of engaging in the process? That's where you're making sure that they're mentally fit and that any of the ethical things aren't in the way. And if they are matched, then you can explain how you can help them, your process, the logistics of working with you, talk about the confidentiality around your coaching and the limits of it, and then make your offer, accept payment, and trust the onboarding process or start the onboarding process. And then if they're not a match, you would refer them out to the appropriate resource. So that's just a little outline that you can use.
On the consult, though, you don't charge, correct?
I don't. Some coaches do. I don't feel charging for consults is a good idea unless you're going to offer something of value and it's not really a consult. Like for instance, I have business breakthrough sessions. And so sometimes I give those away for free, but typically they're $99 because I have 30 minutes where I will give you answer a couple questions and I'll give you specific things that you can do to fix it or to make progress or whatever. And so I typically charge $99 for them, or $97 for them rather. And but sometimes I give them for free. But those are the only ones that I would charge. Like I wouldn't charge a regular consult because I'm talking to you, I'm seeing how we can work together, if we can work together. There's, I don't feel like people should pay for that. That's just me.
Yeah,
But
I
some do.
agree.
All right, let's take a break. It's 2:25. Let's take 10 minutes, 2:35, and then we're gonna go
That's
to our.
so short. Could I just ask for 15? I mean, I'd
Okay.
like to check on my friend.
Yeah, okay, 2:40.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, I thought it was I thought it was 45, and then I was like, no, wait, I said 40.
Thank you for the little bit of time grace.
Oh, no problem. All right, we're gonna jump into our coaching.
Okay.
So Maria, you're gonna have 30 minutes. It's quarter of, so you want to get done around 3:15, okay?
Okay. Do you guys hear the sound machine that's on or no? Okay, great,
I don't.
perfect. My daughter's sleeping next to us. Okay.
All right, you have the floor.
Ready. Hi, Julie. How are you?
Hi. I'm sort of tired, but I'm good.
Good. Okay, for the next 30 minutes, we'll be working together. Is there anything you would like to work on particularly?
I was thinking about coming up with some strategies to successfully manage my time when I start a um, new interim position um, at a church next week, and I'm taking this class. And a few months before I even got this new position, I agreed to uh, lead a program at a maximum security prison about an hour and a half from my home, um, less than that from the church. But if I stayed with the church all day, I'm afraid I'd be too fried to even drive home. So I'm feeling crunched. I'd like to work on some strategies to balance all of this um, at my age, which is past retirement age for most people. But that's the life I chose.
Okay. Now, okay, so I hear you want to have time management with all these new projects that you have recently going on.
Yeah.
How would a day feel for you having all of these events go on?
Well, I mean, it depends on the day, basically, but like particularly, like I could have said, I want to have a coaching session about Tuesdays because Tuesday is the day that I actually have some anxiety about. Um, it's a half-hour drive to the church. I initially said I would come in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and then and Sundays, obviously, and then work from home on Mondays and Thursdays. So I would get there by 9 o'clock and work in the office until 12 and then have a bite to eat and maybe a little break and then come to this class until 3:30 and then from 3:30 until like 5:30 stay at the office or do something, put my feet up, I don't know. And then it's just a little ways from Route 2, which is where I get on to drive to Gardner, which is where this maximum security prison is. That's from 7 to 8:30, and then I have like an hour and a half drive home. I'm just concerned about my level of energy on that day.
Okay. You did express that it is giving you anxiety. Is there anything in particular that it's giving you anxiety on that specific date?
Yeah, my energy level.
Energy.
And it's not like clinical anxiety or rapid heartbeat or anything. I probably should have said a different word. It's just on the one hand, it really works for me to drive there from the church because the church is close to that highway where I just zip on and drive for, I don't know, 40 some minutes and I'm there. Whereas it's an hour and a half from my house. So that works. But this long day that I have I'm sort of staring at, is from like 8:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. I just, I, I think I'm going to feel better after I have the chance to know, A, when does it in fact start, the prison class that I'll be leading? When does it start? Supposedly it's next Tuesday, the same week as the new job starts, but it hasn't been confirmed by the warden. So we don't know, and things do have a way of working themselves out. So it's possible that it won't start till the following week, which I would deeply appreciate because I need some time to really give this church my attention. I don't want to do this church job on the fly. I want to be there with them, do it right. So if I'm sort of spinning my wheels and trying to get everything pulled together, I think I just do have. I was thinking this morning, I have a little bit of like, I'm overthinking it in a way instead of planning it. I saw this uh, plaque at my girlfriend's house. It says, overthinking, creating problems where there are none. So I could be overthinking this, but yeah, it's just, I'm going to have to manage my time, the dinner that I make almost every night, my exercise, which I do faithfully every day, just about, um, except for this morning and Sundays usually. Uh, it's just going to be a tighter ship, so to speak, with my schedule than usual. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I have coffee, I do devotions, and then I uh, read emails, talk to my husband, roll out of bed at 7 o'clock. That's after waking up like 5:30 or 6. So it's going to have to be tighter than that. It's going to have to be more regimented, which won't kill me.
How does a planned date on a Tuesday would look like for you?
Ask it again, I'm sorry.
How would a day planned on your Tuesday, on your busy day, look like for you?
Wake up, pray, do devotions at 5:30, exercise from 6 to 7, get Emily off to her day program. This is a, we're also caregivers for this autistic woman. So get her off, do whatever, um, start getting ready at 7:30 and be out the door by 8:30 to be there by 9 o'clock. Work until 9, I mean 12. I could just make it clear that 12 to 1, I'm not available. I'm not a very good rester, but if I meditated, put my feet up, and just relaxed for an hour, and then I do the class, our class, which is finite. It doesn't last forever. Um, and then maybe from 3:30 until 4:30 or 5 if I have someone to go visit, like someone in a nursing home or someone who needs just a visit in their homes. Then drive to the prison or drive to a restaurant close to the prison and take a break at the restaurant from 5:30 to 6:30. The course starts at 7, and when I start teaching, everything is fun. It's on the drive home when I'm just sort of like letting everything sink in that it becomes difficult. Uh, and maybe I could arrange on Wednesday to come in at 10 instead of 9. I'm just thinking that might be agreeable to them if I tell them, I have this prison course that I agreed to um, long before I got this job. And I hadn't thought of that before, so good work, Maria.
Thank you. Good, good. That's great. Now, you did talk about the drive home. So that's when it sinks in for you. What about the drive home or the thoughts on your drive home that create that anxiety that you were first talking about that's setting in?
Well, on the drive home, I think, basically it's just a prayer to not fall asleep or, just to be able to make it to get home. And then I'm sure I don't think after I do it a couple of times, I think I'll be okay. It's like one day where you don't have much of a break, followed by like maybe a little sleep in on Wednesday morning, like if I could. So yeah, I don't think I have much problem on that.
Now, you did mention that what worries you were the dinners, which we spoke about, exercising, managing all that in, and you have Sundays off as well from the exercising,
From the
correct?
exercise, yep.
Great. Does every day of your week consist of the same schedule, or
When I get up out of bed, I get up and get into my running clothes. I might do a couple of stretches, um, but I'm out the door. It's 2 or 3 miles, and it's very important to me. It's like non-negotiable.
Mhm.
Um, but honestly, if I did that committedly Monday, I started to say maybe I could take off if I did Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, let myself off the hook for exercise on Wednesday. That might be a good midweek break for me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good plan. And as far as the dinners go, we did talk about it briefly, my husband and I, about like if sort of on a monthly basis or, 6 weeks, whatever, we just come up with a a rotation and you make enough one night for 2 nights and you have one meal for 2 nights, 2 times. We always have pizza on Thursdays and very often go out for Fridays. So, since I'll be making some more money, we could definitely make that happen. So, I do feel like that's workable, especially since I am going to work from home on Mondays. And, just say I'm really into simple, like we do American Chop Suey Monday and Tuesday, you know, uh, or Sunday and Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, curry chicken with rice, or something slow cookery, and then pizza on Thursday and you're home free. I mean, it just get very, very um, intentional and methodic about the meals instead of wondering in the morning, what should I do for dinner? Which is kind of typical.
Yeah. What steps can you take to ensure that your time is going to be managed correctly throughout the week? I know you spoke specifically about Tuesdays, but it looks like it's the whole week you spoke about all the way to about Friday.
They all bump into each other,
Yeah.
all the days. Um, for one thing, I can type it up and print it out. And I did get some, like I got this pad at Barnes and Noble. It's like an 11 by 17, like horizontal pad that is for the entire week. And like it has, priorities for this week and space for your whatever meeting schedule or activities you have planned or special things. So if that got put on the calendar, I mean, on the refrigerator every Sunday night, everybody's going to know about it. So I could do that. I will do that. So that's actually two separate things. I'll type up like a strategic plan for my schedule in general, and every Sunday fill out that weekly weekly plan to put on the fridge so my husband can see it, Emily, our shared living person, can see it, and I can see it and refer to it to sort of guide me.
How do you feel about that visual being seen for the house?
Yeah, I feel fine about it. I mean, anything on a personal basis, I can write elsewhere or keep it and ponder it in my heart. That's a reference to Mary. You probably know that.
Yeah. All right. Good, good. Okay. Is there anything else that you would think would be helpful for you to succeed in the time management? So you said you would write something down for yourself, and then you will also write down something where you can visually see and the people in your household as well see.
Yeah, I think that's good. And one thing I do want to do consistently for myself is to schedule in time to work on my coaching business. You know, even if it's like, I mean, of course, this class counts for that, but for like organization and marketing, you know, like even if it's an hour one day and an hour another day, to keep that in mind and my focus, because my intention is this is the last interim I'm going to take. And since I retired from settled ministry, I've done one, two, three, four. This will be the fifth interim. So what I want to do is move to coaching and guest preaching. You know, just visiting and preaching in the area. Um, and I like that. I like meeting people from other churches and loving them, and you know, contributing any like coaching experience I have, or and then leaving. I like that.
Good, good. That's good. That's nice too. Okay. The time management aspect, it looks like you, from the beginning of our session to now, it's gotten a little bit more clear. How do you feel about what you've already discussed, um, in terms of the plans that you've set out?
I feel good. You know, I think it's so important to me. I know it's so important for me that I am an external processor. Like to be able to talk it through is very um, uh, meaningful and makes it real. Makes it real. And my only sort of like extraneous concern is how will I know if I can do it? I mean, I have every intention of doing it, and I don't like to like ever say no or ever say this is too much, I can't do it. I don't like doing that. And basically, I'm kind of a workaholic. Uh, and I mean, like I have trouble not like just sitting around and letting like things be the way they are, like in my house. I can't do that. You know, like I could be very, very tired and I just keep going. And then I can develop like symptoms of exhaustion. Anyway, that's probably for another coaching session.
With that was going to be my segue. What would be something that would limit you in these goals? What would be a setback?
Well, I think what I just identified is like doing things I don't have to do now, or see, I really, really do like to work, and I like to be physically active. I started working when I was 10 years old, Maria, so it's like very hard not like to it's hard to relax. So I think I just have to be conscious that this is a new way for me to like when I said like from 12 to 1, I'm going to rest when I'm up in the church. And maybe I should just say that throughout the week. I'm on vacation from 12 to 1. I never thought of it that way. So, so the overwork and the tendency to ignore my body's need for rest. That's something that could get in the way. And also saying yes to things that, I mean, my plate's full. It's up to here. So I think it will be good boundary setting for me to basically decline offers, like, no, I stay home in the evenings except for, when I've got a commitment or I'm going to go out with my husband, which is important for our relationship. Um, but resting is good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yes. Okay. So we have like about 3 more minutes of the session. Is there anything else that you want to go over? Anything else you want to talk about within the new roles that you're going to be working on in the next week?
Yeah, were you taking notes?
I did take notes, yeah.
Do you think that you could email what I just said?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I can.
My email is
Mhm.
jolmsted.86@gmail.com. And I just remembered I was supposed to email you, and we were supposed to, I think, maybe get together and have a coaching session this past weekend.
Yes.
I did not do that. I heard about my friend's fiance passing, and it really threw me for a loop. So I apologize for that.
It's okay. Totally understandable. And now that I know everything that you're doing, even more understandable. It's no problem. Okay. All right, so what I've gathered, you wanted to work on the time management. You said that you would see if Wednesdays you start going in at 10 a.m. instead of 9 so you can get the
Right.
extra rest. You're going to write something up for yourself personally, and then you're going to have two visuals. So one for yourself and one that you're going to put on the refrigerator with the weekly planner, right?
Yeah.
So then that way the household is also um, can see, as well as meal planning.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think anything is going to get in the way of you trying to implement these things?
I think that just my own tendency to get a little bit derailed, and if I get overtired, I get careless a little bit. but nothing outside of myself. And one thing else I did say was I could sleep in on Wednesday and skip my exercise
Mhm.
so
Yep.
that I could just have time to. It really helps to just be leisurely in bed and take some time to just relax. One thing I've done recently is starting taking baths every day, which I can't recommend more highly. But anyway,
Good.
that's it.
How are you gonna hold yourself accountable, or someone? Is there someone or something that you can do to hold yourself accountable?
I think that my girlfriend and we have a 4 o'clock call every Sunday.
Mm.
You know that, and it's rather unstructured, but we could actually support each other in our goals for the week. I'm going to ask her about that, and in fact, I think I actually have asked her about that, and she said absolutely, because we're both writers and we have very similar goals in our writing. I have a memoir that I've been working on for a very long time that I want to finish, and all of this time management very much plays into that.
Oh, that's nice. That's good. Okay. So how do you feel about the session, the overall?
I feel good about it. I really appreciate having the time to sort of block that out and get clarity on it. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Mm,
It's been a while. It has been a while that I have coached, so
great.
but it's nice. I got to know you more, Julie. I
Yes,
like
you
it.
did. You
You're
did.
just as crazy busy as I am.
It's insane, is what
I
it
don't know
is.
about that, Maria. You got 4 now, right?
I got 5 kids.
Oh, 5. Oh, that's right. But your oldest is how old?
14.
But the little ones start at.
She's 9 months now. So I'm wondering if I'm gonna
Incredible.
be like Julie when I get to retire. Like, am I gonna like try to fill in like like try to get these other projects in because now my kids are grown and out of the house?
You have a lot of time to think about it, Maria.
That's right. You do have a very long time to think about it. All right. So how do you feel that session went, Maria?
I don't know. It's been so long, and I felt like I've gotten used to um it was a good practice for me because I got used to talking and coaching within the pregnancy and high risk aspect of it. So questions are a little bit more different. I did have to think a little bit more as like questions that that I had to kind of invoke thinking differently. Like I had to like shift my brain from one side to the other because the questions are different. The other questions I know, I just I asked them off the bat. um yeah, I don't know, I thought it was okay.
Okay. Um, were you looking at the model at all before the session or?
I looked at the model last night. I
Okay.
wasn't looking at it now, I was just taking notes now. That was all I was doing.
Okay. No, good. That's good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and we'll go through the form so you can kind of see what I was looking at. Um, there. And then I'll just fill in as we go along. Okay. So my notes. All right. So for folk, can you see this form by the way?
It looks tiny, but I mean I can
Okay.
see.
Let's see. View. Oh, let's do 150. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So you asked, is there anything you'd like to talk about in particular? That was your topic question. Just a thought on that is that you probably would just want to be very forward about it. What would you like to talk about today?
Mhm.
Because is there anything you'd like to talk about today? First of all, is a close-ended question, and if they say no, what are you going to say? You kind of set yourself up there, right?
That's true.
So, what would you like to focus in on, talk about, whatever? Again, however, I would have changed it to what. And then Julie talked about strategy so she could get everything done.
Mhm.
You came back and reflected with using the word time management. So that's not something Julie said. And I would be careful of that because I would have kind of reflected back the words that she used and then asked her what I would have asked her how would she describe it
Okay, I see.
instead
Yeah.
of instead of naming it a time management issue, because it might not be. It might be resistance to things. It might be, we don't know that in that beginning part of the session. And then you asked lots of feeling questions, which I liked. You said, how would a day feel for having all those events going on? So that was kind of like an empathy. And then also, where is the feeling? Emotion. And then Julie had mentioned anxiety. So you said you mentioned anxiety. Is there anything in particular giving you that feeling? So that's where you're exploring perceptions or emotions. And then you asked, what would a day planned out look like for you? So this is where you're focusing in on expanding on the outcome. And then so you did ask a couple close-ended. Most of your questions were open-ended, but there was like a couple does and is questions. So you want to be careful of those. You said, does every day of the week have the same schedule? But that's a good question to ask about the current situation. Like, you're investigating that, right?
Yeah, I did want to ask. So I was the only way in my head that I could think of how to say it, but how can I say it differently to make it a true open-ended question? Like,
So you just say, what is the schedule every day of the week?
okay.
You're just asking a straight out
The-
question.
the- okay.
Yeah.
Or how does the rest of the week look as compared to Tuesdays?
Yeah, you do that too.
So,
And then you asked what steps can you make sure, yada yada. So you were oh, these are not your questions. um oh, it doesn't. What steps can you take to make sure? So you're applying new learning and post-session activities. And get rid of these. Okay, you asked about accountability. You also asked about obstacles, what could get in the way. You said, how do you feel about that visual? So you were doing
I
the,
like that question. That was very helpful. How do you feel about that visual?
Thank you.
so
I'm a
that,
visual person too, so I always want to know how the other person.
so that actually is, going back to emotions.
Would I be getting a copy of this, Coach Cheryl, too?
Yeah, this will come to you. It'll be more formal right now, but yeah, you'll get it emailed to you.
Okay, thanks.
You asked if anything else could help, so that's kind of expanding. Where is that? Expanding. Yeah. And then you reflected back. You didn't interrupt. Oh, I have those two marked. So yes, there was no interruptions. Yes, you were succinct in your summaries. You did it in the form of a question, which is great. Okay, so, oh, silence and pause. There wasn't too much silence, but you didn't fill up the time either. So we're gonna say yes for that. Okay, so what I want to go back to, and we're going to focus on today, is the coaching agreement. So we have 3 areas here that we're missing in the coaching agreement. So you asked if there's anything she'd like to talk about. She came back and talked about wanting strategies to do it all, and especially at her age, which she mentioned. And then you kind of kept going, right? So then you just went
Sure.
right into the, starting to, yeah. So
Yeah.
you want to slow all that down and you want to go into measures of success. First of all, I would have reflected back what she said. Because she said strategies to do it all, and especially at my age, I'd want to help her get clearer on that.
Okay.
What exactly is doing it all that you want to include in today's conversation, right? Get really specific, and then say, okay, and what, those strategies that you want to have, how will we know that you'll have them? How will we know you have that at the end of the session? That's one way to measure it. You could say, I like that question the best. How will you know that you have that by the end of the session? Or you can say, what will it look like for you to have that in hand by the end of the session? Something like that makes her focus in on what that, like a measurement. So at the end of the session, you can say, you said that if you had such and such in hand that, or if you said if we got to this point, that you would know. Do you know that you have that? Do we have that? Have we made this accomplishment? Have we accomplished the measurement? Whatever questions you're going to use, your language. But really just getting specific about that measurement. So topic, outcome, and measurement. And then the importance or meaning. So why is it important that so you could ask this several different ways. You could say, why is it important for you to have this strategy put into place?
Yes.
So that she can, or what would it mean for you to have that in place? That'd probably be a better question for this particular topic. What would it mean for you if you had this strategy in place? And she might come back and say, well, I would feel better, I would have less anxiety, I would feel more organized or whatever. And then now you have a lot of information. You have a topic, you have specifics about the outcome, you have specifics about the measurement, and you have the importance to her. And then you can say, for the needs to address, you can say something like, okay, so where would you, or what's important for us to address out of these strategies? Like, or what's important for us to address out of these tasks that you want to complete? So for her to define what's the most important, because, we can't hit every task that people have to complete, right? We can't hit everything. So we can't include it all in a 30-minute session. So have the client define the most important things to address. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Writing it down, even though I know this is recorded. It'll be in the class recording, right?
Yeah, it'll be up probably later tonight.
No rush, no rush.
So that's, I want you to focus there, right? And then we can get into these other areas. But until you have that strong agreement, that's what's typically stops us from being able to get the rest of the competencies in because the agreement isn't strong enough.
Okay.
But I think if you had those 4 things, that a lot of these other things would have, you know, been able to be accomplished. Now there was a couple here, they'll be filled in later. Like you did acknowledge that she used the word anxiety. So there'll be a couple more of these filled in, but just the basics were filled in right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you feel with that feedback? Can I ask for that?
I'm sorry, say that again. It cut off. This
How do you feel with the feedback?
good. I'm very open and receptive to feedback.
Yeah.
So I do not get defensive. I welcome it. No, it's good. Yes, I do need to work on that first part. And it's actually one of the parts that I was a little bit more nervous about. And then when you pointed it out, I was like, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that's where I need the most, I feel like I need the most practice in that one area, because that's what happens when somebody starts talking and then I just jump right into it.
Yeah. And so it actually, it stunts you from doing a lot of the other things because you just don't have that direction that the client wants. And you don't have the importance, the meaning, and so your questions aren't as powerful and you're not able to move the client forward in an organized way anyway. Now she did wind up with a plan and that's great. And she did most of the work, which is great as well. But you have to show competencies, even though thing to remember is we need to show our competencies, even if the client is doing most of the work, right? We want them to do most of the work. But if we're not asking the questions, if we're not exploring, if we're not getting meaning from it, if we're not helping the client identify meaning, outcomes, specific measurements, then we're not doing our job. And so we have to make sure we're doing those things. Yeah. Okay, we are done for today. Go ahead and read the next chapter 5, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. If you have time, take the EIQ test.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much.